Hey now, say now, welcome back to our Los Angeles Angels franchise. We start this episode with the team sitting 8 games under 500 to start the month of July, needing a push in order to improve our playoff probability. We open this episode in the Bronx to take on the Yanks. 1-1 against the Bronx in this series as the Halo rotation has been on sort of a hot streak of late, posting a 1.55 ERA and 21 Ks in the last 5 starts. Chase Silseth will be on the bump today to start and hopefully to keep this momentum going. The action gets started early on in this one as Mike Trout gets a hold of a cutter center plate and crushes it to left. No need for the short porch here as he blasts a 455-foot solo shot to open the scoring, marking Trout's 24th home run of the season. Again, Silseth got the start against the Yanks, and he's going to make former MVP Aaron Judge look silly on a swing and miss to end the first inning. Silseth did get in a little trouble in the next inning, but gets out of a 2-out jam, King Spencer Jones with an outside fastball. Top 3, Trout's going to plate another run, slapping a single to the right to plate the runner on third, extending a lead 2-0. Logan O'Hoppe was up next, and he takes the first pitch of the AB for a ride. Deep shot to center field. 2-run home run for the catcher, 453 feet. Angels now lead 4-0. Home half sees on-base machine Luis Ariz go the other way, slapping a ball that goes all the way to the wall for a 1-out double. However, Silseth accepts the challenge and comes back to K. Judge on a check swing to end the inning, avoiding any runs. Silseth at this point clearly outdueling Yankee starter Clark Schmidt, extending the rotation's dominant streak. We skip ahead to the 9th inning. 2-on with no outs. Neto's going to swing at a pitch that jams him, but the first baseman can't field it cleanly, and the Halos are going to tack on an insurance run on an infield single. Trout was up next, and he's going to get his 3rd RBI of the day, smacking a cutter up in the zone that goes over the outfielder's head into the wall for a double. Halos complete the shutout, blanking the Yanks 6-0 to win the series 2-1 on the East Coast. Angels keep up the winning as they now sit at 46-49 going into this critical situation versus Tampa. Down 1 with 1 on in the 8th inning, Mike Trout's going to pitch hit for Travis d'Arnaud as he come in to try to plate the tying run. However, he's going to swing at the first pitch that is up in the zone, but ends up being a lazy fly out to left field, and that's going to be the first out in the inning. Shawniwell was up with 2 outs, and he's going to pop out, and this was going to be a pop out to first base, and that's going to end up ending the 8th inning. Still down 1 in the 9th, Rengifo's going to lead off, and he's going to look to start a rally as he's going to single with this one to center, getting on first. Jonah Bride was up with 1 out, and he's also going to then single to center, putting 2 on in the 9th inning. Matt Vierling was up next, but he can't do anything with the sweeper up in his zone as he grounds this one to second, and that ends up being a game-ending double play as the Rays escape with a 4-3 win from the Big A. Despite this loss, the Angels put together a hot start to the month of July. 7 wins and 9 games 2 weeks in, still sitting 4.5 games back in Seattle in the division and 3 games back in the wild card though. This point during the season, it was time for the 2026 MLB draft, the second of the franchise. Going into the draft, we had 4 players at the top of our board for our first round pick. First was starting pitcher Scott Bay, who was number 1 on our board as a discovered prospect who projected to have a really good ceiling and potentially an early call-up, something this organization really covets. He should have above average velocity with a 5-pitch mix coming out of the Dominican Republic. At 18 years old, he should be someone that should be part of this organization for a long time. Second baseman Brian Kwan was number 2 on our board, another player with great ceiling and an early call-up candidate, someone who can swing the bat and has pretty average defense. There was also 2 outfielders on the board, right fielder Rob Mize, who was ranked number 8 according to our scouts, someone with solid potential but would likely take a few years before making it to the show as his overall only projected to be 54 to 69. Next was fellow right fielder Henry Corvedo, who had a little bit more upside and tools to make an impact early on. Our farm system does not have much outfield talent at this point, and I would be happy to have either of these players coming into the organization. Kicking off the draft, the St. Louis Cardinals selected starting pitcher Jay Roy first overall, a California prospect who I did not scout as I felt he would be picked well before us, and he goes number 1. Second overall pick was Antonio Tovar, selected by the Washington Nationals, an international prospect who was high on the MLB boards, but our scouts did not think as highly on him. And third overall, the Miami Marlins selected catcher Eric Mota, who might be the shock of the first round as he was ranked in the 40s and the Fish took him top 3. Wow. Coming around to our pick at 9, we had 3 of our targets still on the board. The problem is we did not have a second round pick since we signed Eric Fedde this past offseason, who was actually given a qualifying offer. So I decided to not wait and take the best player available according to our board, and that was pitcher Scott Bay. I took no chances waiting on him, and an obvious need in the organization at pitcher, I felt comfortable selecting him here. Our next pick was number 87 overall, and we took another pitcher, James Diaz, another discovered prospect who was ranked well above his selection, albeit not having a full profile on him. He should have really good strikeout stuff with above average velocity and K per 9. I targeted position player next and right fielder Larry Castle, who was not ranked by MLB metrics but 31st on our board. Solid defense to start, but his bat could use some work. Might have decent potential as well. Our last 2 picks we selected pitchers as we took Phil Harrison with pick number 145, once again a discovered prospect here, as well as Gerardo Lantigua at number 174. Not a lot of hype around these guys. We just hope they have decent ceiling. And here is our year 2 draft class. Really happy with our first 2 picks and Scott Bay, who comes in 72 overall and 89 potential, and James Diaz, who's going to come in a little lower overall but does have 80 potential. The rest of the class, not that impressive as they all start in the 50s with potential in the 70s. Again, not a very deep draft class, but at least our very first pick should be impactful hopefully soon. We were at the All-Star break at this point in the season, and Mike Trout was invited to the Home Run Derby, making his first appearance in his career. Unlike in real life, he doesn't really have a say in MLB The Show. Trout was having a really good season. While only batting .246, he did have 26 homers and 62 RBIs at this point in the season. Kyle Schwarber, now with the Braves, took home the Home Run Derby trophy this year. Our All-Stars included the obvious Mike Trout, but much to my surprise was our second All-Star catcher, Logan O'Hoppe. O'Hoppe, not having an amazing season, only hitting .208, did have 12 home runs and 34 RBIs. Maybe this says a lot more about the catchers in the American League. Another surprise is former Halo great Kevin Newman is an All-Star once again, hitting .325 and 38 RBIs. Maybe I should have re-signed him not knowing he would be a back-to-back All-Star. After the break, the Halos take 2 from the White Sox as they finally get to 500, sitting at 50-50. Still, 500 going into this critical situation versus our rivals in the Seattle Mariners. 2 in scoring position, 1 out in the 9th with the Angels down with the game scored for Joe Adele. However, Joe doesn't get a chance to swing the bat as he's intentionally walked, loading the bases for Matt Vierling. And Matt's going to end up making them pay here as he gets a fastball sinker down in the zone. He's going to hit this one sharply to center. It's caught, but needing a diving effort to do so. This has played the go-ahead run for the Halos. Neto was up next, and he's going to smack a fastball in the zone into the gap as this one's going to end up going all the way to the wall, plating 2 more, padding the lead to 9-6. The 9th inning proved to be the difference maker here as the Angels hold on to win, and they are officially over 500 once again. Closing in on the trade deadline, I made the decision that we'd have to be buyers in an effort to try to make a playoff push. Felt really good about our offense as we were about middle of the pack for most major stats. However, much to probably no one's surprise, our pitching was still a weak spot on our team. We came in 24th in team ERA, 23rd in hits allowed, 27th in runs allowed, and our only shining spot was being 5th in saves thanks to our flamethrower Ben Joyce. Much of our rotation was struggling except for Kikuchi and surprisingly Jack Kohanowicz. Our free agent signing Eric Fedde was not proven to be worth the money with a ERA over 5. So at this point in the deadline, I decided to make a big splash, acquiring starting pitcher Sandy Alcantara from the Marlins, who were at the bottom of their division. In return, we sent last year's second-round pick Mike Ullman, starting pitcher Walbert Arena, and first base Nico Cavadas. Ullman has a potential and is very young. Nico is close to making his debut, but we have no room at the position on the Major League roster, and Arena was just another arm to add to their already stacked farm system. Sandy's team debut came against our rivals, the Texas Rangers, who made a splash of their own, trading for Zach Gallen. Both pitchers had decent stats but losing records due to the performance of their former teams. Sandy looking to make a good impression early. He's going to K Josh Smith on the circle change out of the zone. However, a couple batters later, his defense lets him down. He's going to throw a pitch to Jock Peterson that's low in the zone. Ohabi can't field it cleanly. He decides to throw to third for whatever reason, and it sails to the outfield, resulting in the Rangers scoring a run. Sandy stays sharp though. He comes back to K Jock Peterson to end the inning. He later settles in K'ing Wyatt Langford, but unfortunately this will be the last highlight of his debut, as he allows a single to Peterson in the fourth and is removed afterwards, replaced by Reed Detmers. Detmer finishes the inning, and the Angels end up putting 7 on the Rangers as Soriano K's Seager to end the game. Halos win, but the big story is the trade acquisition not finishing his debut. The injury turns out to be a big one. Sandy Alcantara tore his pectoral in his Angel debut and will miss 1 to 2 months, effectively ending his season. Brutal blow for the franchise looking to make a push to October, as the Angels hover around 500 to end the month, now sitting at 56-56 going into August. The team does only sit 2.5 games back of the division as well as that last wild card spot. The question is, will they have enough to continue the push without a dominant ace? That's going to be the question we'll look to try to solve and answer in the next episode of the Angels franchise. Thank you guys for tuning in, and see you guys next time.